And I will go live on YouTube
Yeah, sure.
because I couldn't go live in the Facebook.
Prabhu, just give us a second. She's going live on her YouTube channel as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. A second, please. No, good. Ah, okay.
All right, yeah.
So I will broadcast in
Okay.
YouTube later on.
All right. Some technical difficulties. It's not
Okay.
working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Prabhu, we do the kirtan first, and then we do the class.
Yeah. So we will do a short kirtan. Then
Mm-hmm.
we'll take on the questions. I think we have a few questions ready, but if anybody has any other questions, we can also take those.
Okay. So I mute everyone now. Yeah, Prabhu.
Okay, except me.
Yes, of course.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jai Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe, Jai Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. I hope that was properly audible. Please let me know how the audio.
Yes, it went well, Prabhu. We could hear it perfectly.
Is the Mridanga properly audible?
Yes, properly audible.
Okay. I thought it would interfere a lot with the voice.
No. It was perfect.
Okay. Thank you all very much for coming. And somebody's saying what? Studio quality. Sure. Okay, so today we have some questions lined up, I think, which we would like to address. We will give you a set of questions. One second, let me pull that up.
Prabhu, I need to make you a co-host first, right?
Is that
For you
so?
to present.
I
You want to show the you will show the verses and stuff, right?
yeah, yeah.
So you need to be a co-host, correct?
I think so. I don't know.
Yes, okay. Give me 2 minutes. Let me make you the host.
Okay. So I think many of the attendees are already devotees. I think they are attending this. Maybe there are some who are not, who are new to the sessions. So for those who, let me just take the dustbin out of the frame. Okay. Okay. So for those of you who are new, so this is called Kirtan, what we just did, and by right we should be having more than one player, one playing the mridanga, one playing the kartals, the hand cymbals. Mridanga is the drum that we played along with the singing, and so this is called the congregational chanting. The holy name of Krishna is the method that is um, the authorized method for meditation in this Kali Yuga. People have many different forms of meditation, but this is the most effective. Hearing and chanting congregationally the holy name of Krishna. So we will go into the chanting of the holy name. I think on the third day. Today is day 1. Tomorrow is day 2, and I think the Saturday, yeah, is the day 3. So on that day, I think we have the topic of the holy name and chanting. So we'll go more in depth on that day. But regardless of whether we know or understand or not, if we chant the holy name, then we become purified. It's it's called Maha Mantra, the great chant for deliverance. So we will study more of that on the day 3, and we chanted what is called the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this is not some Indian Hindu mantra, because the word Hindu, such sectarian references are not given in Bhagavad Gita. It is for everyone. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Sarvayonishu Kaunteya Aham Bija Pradah Pita. Of all species that exist, I am the seed giving father. So, whoever is referred to by names in other religions like Allah or Christ or Buddha or Jehovah, they're all referring to the same one person, God, just like anything has many names, like a flower, for example. In English, we say flower. In Hindi, we say pool. Or in my language, Telugu, we say puvu. Or in Chinese, they say hua. And in Malay, they say bunga. So, in this way, there are so many names for the word flower, but it refers to the same thing. So similarly, God is one. He has millions of names. Nam Nam Akari Bahudha Nijasarva Shaktis. So he has millions of names, and each of them are very completely potent. Potent means they are as powerful as the Lord. So when we chant, we are directly associating with God, Krishna. So that is the meaning of this chanting, that we are associating directly with the Lord. Because people have very vague ideas of, oh, is there a God? How is everything working? Is he, how to understand him, how to see him? But actually, we can take advantage of the holy name, Abhinnatvan Namanam, that the holy name is non-different from God. The holy name of God is non-different from God. In the material world, everything is relative. If I say water, it only refers to the substance water. The name water and the substance water are two separate things. So if I am thirsty, I cannot take advantage of the word water, 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 and I chant like that, and my thirst will be quenched. No, it doesn't happen that way. Because the substance water and the word water is different. This is duality. So the name and the substance that is named are two separate things. Whereas in the absolute world, in the spiritual world, the name and named are the same. Abhinnatvan namanamino. When you say Krishna, Krishna is already there on your tongue. So that's why when we associate with the word Krishna, we are associating with the person Krishna. And that will purify us because God is all pure, and by associating with Him, we also become pure. And that will create a conducive atmosphere in which we can understand the topics that we discuss in any meeting. So we usually start off with a kirtan so that it creates a conducive atmosphere. So with that, we will go to the topic that is set for today. And please feel free if you have any questions, follow-up questions, or anything that you have. You can actually post them in the comments in the chat, and we will take up those questions and we will answer them. For today, the topics are: who am I? So basically understanding ourselves, living entity. Who am I? What are the qualities of the soul? What is my purpose? Where does the soul go after death? Or in other words, the law of reincarnation. So these are the topics that were given for me to elaborate on today. So understanding who am I? So this is the beginning of education actually. In Sanskrit, we call this Atma Tattvam. Atma Tattvam means to understand who we are. Now, if you study the value of modern education, even after primary, secondary education, tertiary education, a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, or a doctorate of philosophy, which is PhD, after all of that, people do not even know who they are. So according to Vedic culture, their education hasn't even started. Although they may say they're PhD, but actually they have not even started ABCD in the field of Atma Tattva, or understanding ourselves. So this is called self-realization. Now, how do we get an understanding of who we are? There are a few methods which people apply. Pratyaksha, Anumana, Aitihya, and Shabda Brahma. So what are these? Pratyaksha means what is visible. So as the saying goes, seeing is believing. People want to believe when they see. So this type of knowledge is what the scientists apply. They apply this kind of method to find out things. If they see, they believe. So evidence, observation and experimentation. So this observation is done by the senses. Now, the problem with this kind of method is that our senses can't be relied upon for accurate knowledge. Our senses are very imperfect and they work under extremely controlled conditions. For example, our eyes, we can't see anything that is infrared, anything that is ultraviolet, we can't see. Only between that spectrum of, red to blue, or what is that? Yeah, red to violet. That's what we can see. So beyond that, we can't see. And if something is too far, we cannot see. We cannot, like stars, for example. We can see something twinkling in the sky, but we don't know the real position, composition of that. We can't really see. And if it's too near, also we cannot see. Like, for example, our own eyelids, it's too near, we can't see. And for example, we have things that we know they are there, but we can't see. Like the mind. We know we have a mind, but we can't see it. But then how are we saying we have a mind? We can't smell it, we can't touch it, we can't taste it, we can't see it, we can't feel it with our skin, like air. When the breeze is blowing, we can feel. We can't. Any of these things, none of the five senses can perceive the mind, but we know it is there. So this is called Sukshma Sharira. Sukshma means subtle body. So as we understand from Bhagavad Gita, okay, why we should go to Bhagavad Gita? We are actually coming to that. So first way of acquiring knowledge is pratyaksha, which is pratyaksha means by our sensory perception. And there are defects of the conditioned soul. Now let me show you. I hope I can share the screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, let me show you something. So this is a text, a scripture from Chaitanya Charitamrita. भ्रम प्रमाद विप्रलिप्सा करना पाठव ईश्वरेर वाक्य नाहि दोष ए सब. Now, the material defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating, and sensory inefficiency do not exist in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, in our senses, there are these four defects. We have the tendency to make mistakes. We are subject to illusion. It means we may take one thing for another. For example, in the desert, we may see some mirage. Were you able to see the screen just now? I shared the screen. Please let me know. Because I shared the screen. I do not know whether you saw. Okay, was the screen covering the entire screen, or how was it? I do not know because I just went to the screen. Okay, I can't hear you though. Yes, full screen. Okay. So, Brahma Pramad. So we have tendency to commit mistakes. We have tendency to be illusioned. Means mirage, for example. We see a water body in a desert, but actually there is no water. It looks like water. And for example, sometimes when you're on the road and the road is very hot, above the road you see like watery kind of distortion of light. So that looks like water, but actually there's no water. So the same thing happens in a desert. That's called a mirage. Now, similarly, this is an experience of the sailors. On water, they may experience land, but there is no land. So these are all tricks. Tejo varimrid vinimayo yatra trisargom risham. So this is explained in Srimad Bhagavatam. So there are so many illusions that we can't see. We can't rely on our senses. Like, the law of refraction of light. Light bends when it passes through different mediums, right? So when you put a spoon half dipped in water, it looks bent, but actually it is not. So, and the sun, for example, it is so far away, and therefore it appears like a small spot in the sky, but actually it's not just a small spot, it's huge, much more bigger than the earth. So, with our direct perception, we cannot rely on it because they are imperfect. Same goes with, I'm just talking about eyes, but every single one of our senses is similarly imperfect or inefficient to find out about something. especially those topics which are beyond our sense perception. Now, next is that is pratyaksha. Then anumana. Anumana means by inference. For example, if on the in the other room, if I hear somebody talking, then I know that okay, there's at least two people are there. So I have not seen them, but by the voice, I'm inferring, I'm thinking, I'm imagining. So that is anumana. So we can stretch our understanding into the realm of speculation by our available pratyaksha or available evidence, and then we may extrapolate into something else and try to estimate something. So that is anumana. Then aitihya. Aitihya means historical evidence. How do we know that something happened? So some record of history is there, and that's how we know. So we know something about the past through historical records. And from history we can know, okay, last year in say May or June there was summer, so this year also in May or June there will be summer. So if we can recognize patterns through historical references, then we can predict some future. So in that way we can know something from itihya. Itihas. That which is derived from itihas is called aitihya. So historical way of understanding. And then there is Shabda Brahma. Shabda Brahma means transcendental sound, not just hearsay. Hearsay means when I hear from someone else, hey, like for example, I have not been to America. If somebody says, oh, in America, this happens, oh, this, they do like this, they do like that. Now, I do not know. So I'm just, if I believe that person, it may or may not be true. I don't know if he's an authorized source. But Shabda Brahma is different than that. So we cannot rely on anyone who just speaks out of his own mental concoction. If he just says something out of his own accord, that may not be believable. But when Krishna speaks, when God speaks, that is perfect. And also those who have realized God, they are said to be perfect, and they can also, because they repeat the words of God, what they say also is perfect. So this is the process by which Vedic knowledge is derived. So there is Aroha Pantha and Avaroha Pantha. Aroha Pantha means the ascending process of acquiring knowledge. Avaroha Pantha means the descending process of acquiring knowledge, or the inductive process and the deductive process. So inductive process or ascending process means with my senses, whatever I can understand, okay, this is what I understand. Okay, now let me make some tools, let me make some, say a microscope or a telescope, and I see farther than what my naked senses can do. So in this way, we stretch our tools, and we stretch our facility or faculty of perception, and see into greater distances, into realms of into frontiers which we have not explored before. In this way, we may try to expand and expand and expand our knowledge. So we are increasing our knowledge, we are ascending, we are knowing about our immediate surroundings first, and then more and more and more. Like for example, we may see a television broadcast of something happening on the other side of the world. Now, personally, with my naked eye, I wouldn't be able to see, but because of these instruments, now I can see something happening, many thousands of kilometers away. So this is an example of extending our instruments and having a visibility of much farther than what we can do with our present senses. So this is the ascending process, inductive process of acquiring knowledge. So the hope is that this is what the scientific community does. The hope is that one day we will get to a point where we will know everything. That's the hope. But it's very far away, far-fetched. So it's pretty much a hopeless endeavor. If we really understand the magnitude of this universe, we will see that we're completely incompetent to achieve that. And so, since gross instruments fail, gross means, when I say gross, it's just physical instruments. When they fail, then we try to explore mental states. Like some people go into meditative states to experience, or something which is paranormal. Just a second. Something which is paranormal or something which is beyond ordinary. They want to experience those things and try to understand. They try to understand with other experiments than just instruments of science, so-called science, physical science. So this is another way they explore. But through these ways, we cannot really understand who we really are, because our mind also has limitations. Because our mind can only think about things which it has already thought about, and then it can mix and match what it already has experience of, and then come up with something. So it cannot it cannot create something totally out of the blue. So that also falls short in understanding the reality of things as they are. In fact, there is a beautiful verse which says, okay, let me share that verse with you. Hare Krishna. Excuse me. So, okay, the translation is a bit tough, but I'll try to explain it. पन्थास्तु कोटिशतवत्सरसम्प्रगम्यो वायोरथापि मनसो मुनिपुङ्गवानां सोऽप्यस्ति यत्प्रपदसीम्यविचिन्त्य तत्त्वे गोविन्दमादिपुरुषं तमहं भजामि. So what is this? I worship Govinda. This is spoken by Lord Brahma, who is the first person of this universe. Brahma, it's interesting because in Abrahamic religions, there is the name Abraham, Ibrahim, these words are mentioned. Actually, they are originating from the word Brahma, who is the original person in this universe, the first person of the universe. But he is not God, he is the son of God. We are all sons of God, but he was the first son in this universe, first child of God. So I worship Govinda. So he is saying, I worship Govinda, another name for Krishna, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis, who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to pranayam by drilling the respiration, or by the jnanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane extending over thousands of millions of years. To put that simply, because the English of this Acharya, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is very, very elevated. So, to put it in simple language, it is this: Panthastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamya. Koti Shatavatsara means millions and billions and trillions of years. If we experiment with our senses and the mind, Panthastu means in that process, in that way. If we Panthastu Koti Shatavatsara Sampragamyo, if we endeavor like that, Vayorathapi manaso munipungavanam, even at the speed of the mind, which is even faster than light, faster than light and sound. Even if we go at the speed of the mind for millions and trillions of years, so pyasti yat prapadasimnya avichintya tattve, avichintya or achintya means we cannot comprehend, we cannot come to a proper conclusion of things as they are. We cannot understand ourselves, we cannot understand the Lord, we cannot understand the cosmic situation, we cannot understand our situation in the cosmos, we cannot understand anything, the purpose of our life, what is the end of knowledge, nothing we can understand in that way. And this is why we cannot rely on our sensory perception or our mental ability, cognitive ability, or our intellectual capacity. All these fall short in the matter of knowing ourselves and God. Now, so how to understand who I am? Because that is the first question in today's topic. Who am I? I told all these things just so that to impress upon you that whatever I'm saying is not my own concocted or speculated process. It is an authorized process given by God, the perfect authority given by Krishna. And therefore, this is authoritative knowledge. So, who am I? So, this is the first subject of Bhagavad Gita. Of course, most of you are already devotees and you have idea. Those of you who do not know, Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Bhagavan, God, Krishna. So, as just now we saw, whatever God says, there is no imperfection, there is no mistakes. Mistakes, illusion, cheating propensity, and imperfect senses. So these things do not occur. These things do not happen in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Now, who am I? So Bhagavad Gita gives us information about who we are. Before we go there, what do we think we are? Generally, we think we are this body. This is what I am. This is how I look in the mirror. And yeah, this is me. So that's our idea. So here, the problem is, after death, we do not know why did we take birth. We try to say that, okay, I am this body. But we don't know the head and tail of this body, the beginning and the end of the body, and even the middle. For example, we say this is my body. And then we will say we are the body. How can I say I am the body and this is my body? For example, this is a water bottle. So, this is my water bottle. I am the water bottle. Does that make sense? No. Water bottle belongs to me, and that's why it's called my water bottle. So if I say this is my body, and then I'm not the body. This is my body. So who am I? Who am I? And if we even go closer and identify which part of the body I am, then am I the hand? No, this is my hand, my heart, my head, my brain, my mind, my bone, my muscle, my heart, my stomach. So if these are all mine, who am I then in the midst of all these things? If even the mind is mine, then I'm not even the mind. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind. Then who am I? So I am the soul. Soul is what we actually are. Now we can't even see the mind, for example. So forget about the soul. So this is the hierarchy of our constitution, how we are situated. So basically, just like we have inner wear and outer wear, right? In our clothes. So similarly, the soul is who we are. And now we are covered with subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, and this false sense of identity, which is called false ego. Ego means identity, actually. It's not just that, hubris or pride. No, we're talking about ego means identity. The sense of I am, my individuality, that is ego. So this sense of identity or misidentification and intelligence and mind, this constitutes the subtle body, the sukshma sharira, which is like the inner wear on the soul. And then there is the outer wear, which is what we see currently, the body. So this body is compared in the Bhagavad Gita to a dress. So let me show you that verse, because this is not my words. Whatever I'm saying is quoted in the Bhagavad Gita. I'm quoting from the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, Vedic scriptures. So that makes it authoritative, because if I say something I've said, it is bound to be full of mistakes. It is not that we have not realized anything, we have not experienced anything, and therefore we are quoting from the scriptures. No, we have experienced, but we don't want to just quote our experience. We want to corroborate our experience with the authoritative statements of the Shastra. As you progress in Krishna consciousness, you will experience all these things. You will um, perceive all these things. But if I just say I perceived, then many millions of people are saying I perceive this, I perceive that, I perceive this. So there's no authority. So our perception, if it is in line with the authoritative statements of Shastra, then it is correct. And that is the reason why we quote. So here in the second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, 22nd shloka or verse, it is said, Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihanati naro parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. Now Vasamsi, as you can see here, translated from Sanskrit language. So this Sanskrit language. So means garments or clothes. So now, let's go. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones. So this is how it works. It is very easy to understand this. Now, we change our clothes every day. And that is exactly how the movements of the soul happen. So birth, what happens at birth? And what happens at death? If we understand this, then we really understand who we actually are. It may sound surprising, but actually, nobody takes birth, nobody dies. Na jayate mriyate va kadachin. At any time, nobody takes birth and nobody dies. We, the soul, are eternal. There was never a time in history where we came into being. We were always there. And there will never be a time where we will cease to exist or stop to exist. No, we will always be there. We will never die. You know, when somebody tries to kill us, we try to defend ourselves. Why? Why do we want to live? Why do we resist death? This is actually because it is something very unnatural for us. That's why we resist it. It is not natural for us to die. It is natural for us to live, which is why we defend ourselves. But actually, the problem there is that we think we are the body. We want to maintain this body as long as we want, as long as possible. And that's where the mismatch happens, because we think we are the body and we want to keep the body forever. And that fails. We all know that. But the soul actually does not die at the time of so called death. So, what is this birth and death? So, if we understand that, then we will understand a bit about who we are. So, at birth, what happens? Karmana daivanetrena jantur dehopapattaye striya pravishta udaram pumsaha retah kanashrayaha. So this is explained from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 31st chapter, which is also in Sanskrit. Now, it is said that based on our previous actions, my previous actions, that means, first of all, I have been living, and before this body, I had another body. Maybe it's a animal body or a human body or whatever it is. There are 8.4 million species of life, 8.4 million different types of bodies all over the universe. This is also we get this information from the Vedic scriptures. Ashitim chaturas laksham stan jiva jatishu. Ashitim chaturas laksham stan jiva jatishu. That means 8.4 million species of life. Or in Indian notation, there's 84 lakhs species of life. So, in my previous life, whatever I have done, accordingly, I will get a body in this life. Yeah, and that's why we all have, different experiences, different backgrounds, different families, different countries. Why? Actually, let us, even question. Before we go to the Vedic evidence, let us even question why things are as they are. Why there are so many, why somebody is born poor and somebody is born rich? Why somebody is born as a dog and somebody is a human being? Why somebody mentally retarded or physically incapacitated and somebody very strong mentally or physically? Somebody is born with, all kinds of advantage in a good country, where somebody is born in a country like, Somalia or something, which is, not so, nice conditions to live. So why all this disparity? Why these differences? Science cannot answer this. Science can answer questions like how you were born, when you were born, how you were born also partially actually. They just can explain about the sexual intercourse and that's all they know. There is much more happening behind the scenes which they cannot know. Okay? Um, how you were born, when you were born, to whom you were born, where you were born. But why you were born, they cannot answer. What is the purpose of your life? So that they cannot answer. They have no answer for that. Oh, everyone has to explore their own life. That's what they say. That's the max they can go. But no, there is a purpose why we were put into this world. It's not that we were sent here as messengers of God. No. So, firstly, we have to understand um, that who we are. So, if you see who we are in our current state, we are always serving someone. We are either a servant of our family members, our parents, or our children, or our customer, or our boss, or our country, or our community, or humanity. We're always a servant. So that is something which cannot be taken away from us, that we always serve someone. If we have nobody, we will keep a pet dog and we will serve the dog. When the dog is passing stool and I have to pick up the stool of the dog. At least in Singapore, that is a law. In India, I don't know. India, even humans pass stool and then it didn't pick up anything. But here, at least in Singapore, when the dog passes stool, the owner has to pick up immediately. They will have these plastic bags. Where they will pick up the stool of the dog because they can't just dirty the whole place. So he will even keep the dog and serve the dog, not just picking up the stool, but even feeding the dog and taking care of the dog, taking him to the doctor, sometimes veterinary doctor. So all this involves service. So we are always a servant. That's what we really are. But now we are serving someone who cannot give us enough happiness. How much ever we may serve in any capacity, in any relationship in this material world, we cannot be really happy. To an extent, some small satisfaction, but immense amount of trouble. And even if we say that, okay, I don't mind the trouble, even then, our relationships don't last. They're finished. With the termination of the body, they're finished. Now we had fathers, grandfathers, great grandfathers. What happened to them? They went somewhere else and they're living some other life in some other body with somebody else, thinking that okay, now this is my family. We are thinking that oh, he's my family member, previously ancestor, but he is somewhere else now, and then he's thinking oh, this is my family, that is my family. So our identity connected with this family or nation or race or species or gender, all these things are temporary. They are superfluous. They're not who we really are. So just like if I'm Vasamsi, this body is like dress. So this body is Indian. So as you can see, my face looks Indian. So I'm an Indian passport holder as well. Now, just because my body is Indian, I am not Indian. Because as we understand from Bhagavad Gita, I am not the body. So if the body is made in India, I am not Indian. It's like if I drive a Japanese car, Toyota, I don't become a Japanese just because I'm driving a Japanese car. So this body is like a car or a dress. In other place in Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, 61st verse, Yantra Rudhani Maya. Yeah, this body is compared to a yantra. Yantra means machine or a vehicle. Now, if it's a Toyota, it's a Japanese vehicle. If it's a Benz, it's a German vehicle. Now, just by sitting in a Mercedes Benz, I don't become German or an Audi. Or if I sit in Toyota or Nissan, I don't become Japanese. Or if I sit in Ford, I don't become American. So my identity is not tied with the vehicle or even the shirt. For example, if I wear suddenly a Chinese outfit, I don't become a Chinese. I'm just wearing a Chinese outfit. So similarly, if I have a body that is Indian, the soul is not Indian. or Chinese or human even. This is the body. So we need to disassociate ourselves from this external identity that we have created for ourselves, this false identity. We have that IC identity card. Oh, this is your name, this is your surname, this is your nationality, this is your date of birth, this is your age, this is your gender. That is actually not our identity at all. It's completely not our identity. I'd like to call it not IC, but it's not identity card, but it's an identity crisis. We don't even know who we are. That name and that surname belonging to this family, I actually don't belong to this family. Because in my previous life, I was somewhere else. And next life, I'll be somewhere else. Now I am here. Just like, travelers, when they travel and, they put up somewhere. And then they have a few friends in that place and then they move on. So like that, we are just briefly associated with these people, which we call our family. But actually, we don't belong to that family. We don't belong to that nation. So all these things are external. They are not actually, that's not what our identity is. Then who am I then? I'm not the body and nothing of this body belongs to me. Then who am I and what do I belong to? Where do I belong? So Krishna answers this in the Bhagavad Gita progressively. In the second chapter, he explains how we are not the body. In various angles, he explains. Like I gave you just now the example. And even if with our personal experience, we can kind of understand this. For example, when somebody dies, so-called dies, so we say, oh, this is the body of Mr. So-and-so. We don't say this is Mr. So-and-so. No, this is the body of Mr. So-and-so. So who is that Mr. So-and-so? When he was alive, we point at the body and say, this is Mr. So-and-so. And when the same body is lying down now, we say, this is the body of Mr. So-and-so. So what is missing? So who is that Mr. So-and-so then? Definitely the body is not, because this is the body of Mr. So-and-so. So who is that Mr. So-and-so? We say, oh, he's gone, he's no more with us. But then the body is with us. And he is no more with us. But then that means he is not the body. So he is the spirit soul, Atma. And how does the Atma look like? How does it look like? So that is also given in our Shastra. Which is not that everything is vague. Very, very specific. I'll show you the verse. I hope the size of the text is visible for you all. Let me know if it is visible, if it is clearly visible. So this is Shvetashvatara Upanishad. This is a scripture, Upanishad. 5th chapter, 9th verse. Bala grashata bhagasya shatadha kalpitasya cha bhago jivaha savigneyaha sachanantyaya kalpate. When the upper portion of a hair, so in other words, take one of your hair, strand of hair, and it's long like that. Now look at the cross section of it. It means the top of the hair. You can't even see it. It's very, very small. Now, if the upper point of a hair is divided into 100 parts, divide that into 100 parts and take one part of it, and each of such parts is further divided into 100 parts, each such part is the measurement of the dimension of the spirit soul. So the Atma is so small, but it is so powerful that it powers this entire body. When that spark, when that tiny atom, spirit soul, Atma, leaves, this body just falls flat on the floor. So that's how powerful that spark is. And just imagine, some trees are so huge, humongous, massive, but one soul is powering the entire tree. One soul. And the elephant is so big, the blue whale is so big, one soul is powering that entire thing. And when that soul leaves, just like it is easy to understand. When I'm wearing my clothes, now wherever I go, this cloth goes with me. That does not mean it is alive. This cloth is not alive at any time, whether I'm wearing it or not. It's always dead. it only appears alive, or it rather has some animation, it moves because I am moving it. Now, this cloth, wherever I go, it may move, but it's not alive. Similarly, with a car, it can go anywhere, but it's not alive just because it is moving. I, the driver, or I who am wearing this clothes, am moving it, and therefore it moves. Now, when I change my clothes, I take off these clothes and wear another set. Now, these clothes won't move anymore. There's another set of clothes move. So that's what the dead body is. When you, however powerful the car may be, the Ferrari or whatever, if you switch off the engine and get out of the car, that car is not going to move in a million years until somebody else comes in, or you yourself go and start the car again. So, similarly, when the soul leaves the body, however powerful this body may be, like for example, we have the example of Bruce Lee. Oh, he was a great fighter, very strong, very powerful. But when he died young. He was only 32 years old or something. Then he died. And after that, that same strong body can do nothing. It's just a lifeless lump of flesh, decomposing every second, and it has to be cremated. Bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye, Shankaracharya says, great Acharya. He says, when the person is so-called alive, everybody asks his welfare, especially when he's younger, and the wife shows him so much affection. But when the body is dead, the same wife is scared of the body. Same body. The wife is scared. Bharya bibhyati tasmin kaye. So that is the nature of this body. So without the soul, it has no meaning. Even the most loved one will burn it. When the person is alive, will anybody burn the body? No. So it has gotten so much value only because of the soul inside. Without the soul, even the family members don't care for the body anymore. They just cremate. So you just try to understand that our real value, the soul, that's what we are. Who am I? I'm the soul. And how to understand how my situation is. Who am I? So this is how we understand from Shastra. And okay, so I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm the soul. So if I understand I'm the soul, then the next question is, where do I belong? Where do I belong? Because now I'm thinking I'm the body, so I belong to this family, I belong to this country, I belong to this company, or I belong to this, idea with this. Say, some people are, sportsmen. Even in sports, there are many sports. There are some chess players, some cricketers, some soccer players, some basketball players, and even in business, there are different kinds of businesses. So one identifies with one community. Okay, somebody says, I'm a cricketer, I'm a soccer player, I'm a basketball player. In this way, we identify in many different ways. So we think we belong here, we belong there, we belong here, we belong there. Even in scientific community, there is biology, there is chemistry. Even in biology, there are so many subdivisions. Every single has so many subdivisions, and we identify with some one particular thing according to our specialization, according to our association, according to our job or whatever skill sets we have and interests we have. So now that I understand that I'm not this body at all, so where do I belong? Okay, I'm the soul. Okay, now I understand I'm the soul. Fine. Then what is my nature actually? Belong before even we go to where we belong. How how do we even what is my nature? Like where do I how to understand how I exist? So this is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Like how did I take birth and what is my relationship? How did I come to exist? So as we know from previous karma, this is the bondage of karma. So the whole point, the purpose of our life is to come out of this cycle of karma and release ourselves from this bondage of karma and go to a place which is our real home, the eternal kingdom, which is called Vaikuntha, or the kingdom of God, where there is zero anxiety, there is zero suffering, where we can see God face to face, we can see Krishna face to face. That's where we belong. We have come very far away from our home. We are now in this prison house of this material existence, material world. And we are pushed from one body to another, to another, to another, according to our actions. This is called karma. And this is how we are going in this world. So now that I am the soul and none of these things belong to me, so what belongs to me then? So we actually belong, our real identification, our real relationship is with God, Krishna. Forgetting God, we are now trying to have those relationships with many people in this world. What are the relationships that we have in this world? Primarily, 5. So, first is Shanta, Shantaras. Okay, Shanti we know in a peace, but we're not talking about that. Shantarasa means passive appreciation. For example, we may be a fan of some sportsman or some actor or some, historical personality or whatever. So we passively appreciate. We don't have active relationship with that person. That person doesn't know us, or we don't have an intimate relationship, but we appreciate that person. So this is Shantaras. Dasyaras, that means we serve someone in the capacity of a servant. We are serving someone. Like sometimes, we have, like for example, an employee, he serves his boss, his supervisor or something like that. So that is, he has to obey the orders. Whatever the boss says, he has to listen. So that's a master and servant relationship. That is a relationship. Everything is a relationship. Even hate, even enmity is also a relationship. They're related by enmity. So somehow or other we are related. So now, but favorable relationships, I'm talking about these 5. There are unfavorable relationships also, like enmity, enviousness. These are also relationships, but negative relationships. So we are somehow or other related with this person with a specific relationship. Sometimes we are not related. We don't really know each other, and that is neutral. So when we are having a positive relationship with a person, then it comes in these 5 flavors, 5 primary flavors. There are more flavors, but secondary flavors, but these 5 are the primary. So appreciation, passive appreciation, active service. Then next, it becomes more intimate now. Friend, Sakhyaras. So Sakhyaras means friend, just like Krishna and Arjuna. They were friends of each other. We have friends in our lives. We have some close friends. Different flavors. Some are close, some are not so close, like that. So with friends, we reveal, we are very open. We are the feeling is the relationship is much more intimate, much more close than say a master and servant relationship. So we have some friends like that, and then we have parental affection. Like the parents, they love their children, and even dasaras, this direct service, like boss and master and servant, like we being the servant. When we are the son or daughter of someone, that relationship, especially when one grows up, we also become their servant, and out of respect for the elderly. So that's also a servant master relationship. Then there is friendly relationship. Then there is vatsalyaras, which is parental relationship or filial affection, or rather parental. Yeah. So the parents have an affection for the child, and then they serve. The mother serves the child out of love. Yeah. Feeds the child, cleans up the child and everything. Makes so many arrangements for the child. So this is all service. We are always serving someone, but just in different capacities, in different loving capacities, or sometimes even hatred. And then finally there is madhurya ras, conjugal, like husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. In this way, this is conjugal love. So in conjugal relationships we have in this material world. So these are the 5 types of relationships that there are in this material world. But actually, because now we understand that nothing of this material world belongs to us, none of these relationships are actually They don't stand the test of time. They're actually not real. They're only temporarily there for the time being. So actually, we are supposed to have these relationships with God. So we belong to God. So we now our belonging. Because we work so hard. For example, we earn money to maintain our family members because that's our sense of belonging. Okay, this is my family. I have to support. I have to, provide for my family, and that with that feeling, we may go out and work and now come back and provide for the family. Now, because so all our work is based on that understanding of our relationship. So this is in Sanskrit called sambandha and abhidheya. We have a sense of understanding of our relationship, and then we act according to that understanding of relationship. So because I think this is my family, and therefore to provide for my family I have to work, and this is what I can do, this is what I can earn money with, so I will do this and I earn some money and provide for my family, and this is the understanding. So we act according to our understanding of our relationship. So if I understand my relationship with God, because that relationship is actually eternal, it cannot be severed, it cannot be cut, it cannot be stopped. Life after life, no matter what, our relationship with God does not fade. We may forget, but once we remember, that is called self realization. Then we will understand who am I. Just understanding that I am the soul is not enough to understand who am I. Because we have to understand ourselves in relationship to something. Then we have a proper place in everything. Just to understand that I am a human is not enough. Even in material, I am speaking. Oh, I am a human being. That is not enough. Where I belong, what is my position in this world, what should I do? Oh, maybe, some people have they create their own aim of life. Okay, once they find a particular service that they can do, then they find their purpose in life, they say. Okay, this is what I want to do in life. So unless you have something to do, just by passively understanding that I am the soul or I am a human, this does not help. Where is my service? Where can I direct my actions towards? When I understand that, that's when our fulfillment of life comes. Okay. So that is when we understand who we are. So to understand, if we establish this same relationship with God, Krishna, then we will act in service to Him. And because everyone else also belongs to Krishna, Krishna says, Sarva Yonishu Kaunteya Aham Bija Pradah Pita. I am the father of all species of life in the 14th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And because everybody is a child of God, everybody is a children of God. Because if we have a relationship with God, then because God is the father of everyone, then we will have our relationship with everyone. With everyone. So in that way alone can we be related. There is a Sanskrit phrase in our Shastra which is called Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam means Vasudha means this planet, this world. Kutumbakam means family. The whole world is our family. How is that possible? Because God is our father. And therefore we have one family. So then one can actually work for the benefit of others. Only when he understands this. That is how one can actually do good for the world. To re-establish everyone's connection with God. To remind them, you don't need to suffer. Actually, your father is the richest person in the entire creation. He's God. So you don't really have to suffer. You surrender to Him and He will take care of everything. So that is the service of the preacher who tries to awaken everyone to this understanding that we actually belong to God. We are all children of Krishna, God. So now, Subala Prabhu has shared this. I don't know how to share a comment. Let me see. I don't know how to share a comment though. So consciousness. So he said, this is another aspect of our existence, consciousness. So I'll just read it out. It's in the comment section, in the chat section. I don't know how to put it on the screen, but I'll just read it out. So this is, of course, our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, is explaining in the book called Teachings of Queen Kunti. She's a great saint, actually. So in that book, Srila Prabhupada explains, we all have consciousness, but what is this consciousness? It is Krishna consciousness. We have forgotten Krishna, and therefore we simply say consciousness. But really, consciousness means Krishna consciousness, because without Krishna, we cannot have consciousness. That's true. Without God, where do we get our consciousness from? It did not just come out of nowhere or some combination of chemicals and then now we have consciousness. No. Without the sun, how can there be sunshine? Therefore, we say sunshine and not just shine. Similarly, consciousness means Krishna consciousness. This requires a little intelligence to understand. So, we are conscious. Now, a stone is not conscious. We are conscious. That is the symptom of the soul. We are conscious. But where is this consciousness coming from? Originally from Krishna. Whatever consciousness we have is coming from Krishna. So this is our real consciousness, like who we are. So, and then our activity in this material world, in this world. Now we have created a certain relationships and we're acting according to them. Now, when we establish that relationship with God in any of the 5 different capacities, you can love God as as appreciating His greatness, which is the beginning portion actually. But then real service starts from the Dasaras, where we actually serve God. And then we become a friend of God, become a parent of God, become a conjugal lover of God. This is all possible. Where do you think these relationships in this material world come from? They come from God. Everything here that exists is a reflection of the original spiritual world, but it is a perverted reflection in the material world. It's just a reflection. So, whatever is here, the origin is God. So, in God, these things are there, but in their pure form, eternal form. So, our relationship with God is also eternal. We just have to revive that relationship. Once we hear about Krishna, then our lost relationship will be revived with God. And that's when we will be established in real happiness. And once we love God, we will love everything that belongs to God also, and everybody that belongs to God. For example, a mother loves the child, and the child has many toys. And the whole day he will play around with the toys and throw them everywhere, all around the house. Now the mother picks up all the toys and puts them in a box or a basket or a bag, and then puts them back in a place. Every day she takes care of the toys very nicely. But do you think the mother is actually interested in the toys? Not directly. But because they belong to the child, and because she has love for the child, and the toys belong to the child, and therefore she keeps everything nicely. Otherwise, if you see a grown adult woman picking up toys and playing with the toys, she's mentally retarded. She's not sane. But why does the mother do that? Because of her relationship with the child. So we can extend our love to all, not only just humanity, but even the animals. Every single living entity that exists belongs to Krishna. And one can do real welfare only and only when we really understand our relationship with Krishna. That's when we understand everybody else's relationship with Krishna as well. And therefore we try to help them by re-establishing their relationship with Krishna. The only reason why we are suffering in this world is because we have forgotten our relationship with Krishna. Now, just to so this topic of today is who am I? Then what is the qualities of the soul? So these are the qualities. Qualities are Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam. We are conscious, we are eternal, we exist. These are the qualities of the soul. And especially the symptoms of the soul are there is thinking, feeling, and willing. We think, we feel, we will, we do something. These are all symptoms of the soul. And what is the purpose of the soul? So this is our real purpose. Our purpose is now to understand our eternal relationship Where do I belong? Now we know we belong to God. Mamaivamsu jivaloke jivabhuta sanatanaha. And who is God? We will go to that and actually in our next tomorrow session. For now, we understand that we belong to God, Krishna. And when I say Krishna, it is not an Indian god or a Hindu god. Please don't mistake. Krishna never says that I'm Hindu or that term doesn't exist in our scriptures at all. Because we are very, very broad and scientific. This is not just a sectarian thing. So Krishna means all attractive. And we will go into in depth of this tomorrow in that topic. But now for today's understanding, we understand who we are. Our real identity can only be understood in conjunction with the Lord's identity. Otherwise, we have no separate identity from the Lord. So, if we want to understand ourselves, we have to understand our relationship in connection with the Lord only. We have no separate identity, independent identity. We are dependent. Only God is independent. He does not depend on anybody else for his existence. But we do. We do. We need food. Even in this material world, we depend. Everything has to be given by something. And that whole arrangement, the background arrangement of everything is done by God, Krishna himself. So, what is my purpose in this world? So, my purpose is before I die. Now, let us understand. In our human life, we have an opportunity that we never had in all our millions of past lives. We took birth millions and trillions of times in this world. And in different bodies we have taken birth. Sometimes as a plant, sometimes as an insect, sometimes as a snake, sometimes as a lizard, sometimes as a cockroach, sometimes as a dog, cat, elephant, all these things, birds. And there are subdivisions also in our Vedic literature. There are 900,000 species in the water, fish. Jalaja Navalakshani Sthavara Lakshavimsati. That means 2 million types of trees. And we're not talking about just this earth. We're talking about the entire universe. Every single planet is full of life. Not that, every single planet is empty and only this earth is full of life. Not at all. In fact, it is said that every single planet is congested with life. Sarvaga, in our Bhagavad Gita, is mentioned. Sarvaga means everywhere life is there. Just that we can't see it. That's why I said our eyes are imperfect. We cannot see many things. So we cannot rely on our eyes to say that, I can't see, so there is nothing. No. Anyway, so there are 2 million types of trees. Krimayo Rudra Sankhyankaha. So insects and reptiles, they are of 1.1 million species. Pakshinam Dasalakshanam, 1 million types of birds. Trimshalaksha Chatushpadaha, 3 million types of quadrupeds or four-legged animals, 3 million of them. And Chatullaksham Manusha, 400,000 human species. Humans are not one species, they are one category of species. But there are 400,000 of them. Some on this planet, some on other planets. Altogether 400,000. That's why we say race, like Chinese race and Indian race. Indian, there are also many. So all these we say race. But actually, it is different species of human beings. Okay? So now, having understood that, all these different species, we have taken birth. In all those species, there is no chance that we can understand who we are. Now we're talking about the purpose of the soul. To understand the purpose of the soul, we can only do it in the human form of life. So after many millions and millions of years of evolution, the soul has come into the human body. And now, this human body exists for about, say, if you're lucky, 80 years or maybe more. We don't know. I can die tomorrow, today. I don't know. So it's a very short life. In this short life, I have to completely understand who I am, and who I am? I'm a servant of God. So I have to go back to the kingdom of God, and I have to prepare for that journey. At the time of death, instead of taking another birth in another body in this material world, we have to head back straight to the kingdom of God never to take birth again. Yad gatva nanivartante tadhama paramam mama. In Bhagavad Gita it is said, once you go there, you will never come back. You will live eternally there, happily in the company of God and all his millions and trillions of devotees. And there you can play with God, you can dance with him, you can have party every single second. Why stop here? Party, people drink and dance a bit and then hangover, the one day gone, next day, 2 days gone. Or they fall down somewhere on the road, an accident and die. That's not the way in the spiritual world. It is called Akhanda Utsav. Akhanda Utsav. Utsav means festival. Unending festival. You see? Unending festival. Every moment is a festival there. You see? So, in that way, we have to be eternally happy, and that's in that kingdom it is possible. It is possible. And some descriptions of that kingdom are also given in our Vedic scriptures. But firstly, we have to understand this. Our real purpose is to end our material existence. The cycle of the chain of karma, we have to stop it in this life. So we have an extremely high aim, extremely purposeful life in this human life. And if we don't wake up to this and just live like another animal, just going after the opposite sex and having a family and having just mundane, and then we're not saying don't have family, but the thing is, if that is the only domain of activities that we have, then we'll die like an animal. Even the dog has a family. It has much bigger family than us. A pig has a family much bigger than us. They are more expert in handling their family affairs than we are. The humans today can't even produce more than 2-3 children. They're struggling to provide for them. But a pig, every single time, twice a year, he gets pregnant, and then half a dozen children come out, and then he's happily eating garbage and happily living life. So pig is also very expert in maintaining family members. So that's not the only issue of or aim of human life. No. In fact, if at all one takes up this position of father or mother, he must make sure that his children also become Krishna conscious, God conscious, and end their cycle of karma in this very life. This should be the last life in our material existence. No more rebirth, and go back to the kingdom of Krishna, God, Vaikuntha, and never to come back here. That is the aim of human life. That is the purpose of human life. Actually, we were from there. We were existing in the spiritual world, Vaikuntha, as servant of Krishna. But at some point, somewhere in time immemorial, this thing happened that we thought, oh, why should I serve somebody? I want to be God. When we had this competing mentality, when we want to explore that life, when we wanted to play God, so in the spiritual world, there is no place for that, because there he is the predominator, and therefore everyone is serving him. And so therefore he gives us a place where we can be the Lord. We are not infinite like him, so we actually can't be God. But he gives us, okay, you know what? Here, go to the material world and try to be controller. It's not that Krishna likes to do this to us. We wanted to do it, and we were adamant about it. Krishna did not want us to come here. We came out of our stubbornness. And Krishna gave us all facility. In fact, it is said that when we come to the material world, we first become Brahma. Our first life in the material world is Brahma, the controller of the entire universe. So we can play God as much as we want within this universe. But then, because of our sinful activities, life after life after life, we will end up as a worm in the stool. Until that. So, in this way, we have degraded ourselves. And now, in this way, we have completely forgotten our relationship with God. And now, for millions and trillions of years, we have been rotting in this material world, struggling. Sometimes in the heavenly planets, sometimes in the hellish planets, sometimes in the earthly planets. We are rotating like anything. So that millions of years of journey has to be stopped in this one life. That is the aim of human life. We have to be absolutely determined. This should be my last. This should be the end of my material existence. I should stop it here. So that is the purpose of human life. It's only possible in human life. And if we don't do that, just live like another animal, getting attracted to all impermanent, useless topics, in life and then dying one day, then we have wasted a golden opportunity. We have missed the lottery because you just see around us, like, and I am in Singapore, and there are about, let's say, roughly 6 million people here. Now, 6 million human beings, but compare it to the ants. How many ants are there in Singapore? Billions or trillions? I don't know. Just one species of ants. Now there are plants. How many grass are there in Singapore? How many other forms of insects? How many animals? How many, germs? I mean, in my room, now I'm alone in this room, so called. But actually, how many germs, how many microbes there are? In my body, there are thousands. So just imagine the proportion of living entities and how small we are in proportion, how rare this body is actually compared to everything else. And if we don't make use of this, we are going to suffer in all these different bodies after this. And for millions of years, we will not have a chance again at human life. So why should we waste this life in impermanent things which are fleeting, which absolutely don't make any sense in the ultimate issue? Why should we waste our time? So we should be very serious about cultivating our real purpose of life, cultivating our real relationship with Krishna, understanding, hearing about it. Who am I? What should I do with life? This is the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita book explains exactly this: who you are and what you should be doing in life, and how to attain what is the goal that you need to achieve, and how by following this you can achieve, and many people have achieved already. All this is mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. So that's why everybody must read Bhagavad Gita. It's a book of science that is for all humanity. All humanity. It's not just for Hindus. Who said? The word Hindu doesn't exist in Bhagavad Gita. It's a scientific book for all humanity. God is for everyone. Whatever I believe, it's not a question of faith here. We're not talking about some blind faith. No, no, no. We're talking about science. Science of God. Science of our existence. Who we are. So, where does the soul go after death? The law of reincarnation. Okay, we have 20 more minutes. So I have kind of explained all this already. What is this reincarnation? Now, let me elaborate just a little bit about this reincarnation. How it actually takes place. What happens at death? How exactly does the soul go into another body? So this is explained in Bhagavad Gita. Of course, I have told you the soul, like when you take on a new dress. But what dress we will get in our next body? According to our currency of our karma. For example, just take an ordinary example. If I want to buy a new shirt, now my new shirt can depend on my financial capacity and my desire. If I'm a rich man and I'm interested in fancy clothing, I can buy a $5,000 shirt or $10,000 shirt. Or if I'm an ordinary person like anybody else here, I may buy a $5, $10 shirt or something like that. According to my currency, according to my financial capacity, I can buy. Similarly, in the next body, which is like a dress, we can get the next body according to the currency of our karma. Dharmo vittam niranam pretya. Whatever religious activity, whatever pious or impious activity we have done, that is our currency in our next life. So accordingly, we will get a body. And such karma will lead us to a particular thought at the time of death. So let me show you something interesting. Let me share the screen. Okay. So here, 486. So in the 8th chapter, 6th verse of Bhagavad Gita, we have this shloka, verse, which says, Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sadatad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, O son of Kunti, that state he will attain without fail. So, whatever we think of at the time of death, at the last moment of our life, our next body will be based on that. Suppose nowadays people like to keep dogs. Oh, pet dog. Oh, I love my dog. They put their wallpaper in their phone as a dog and a laptop wallpaper dog and some posters of the dog. So, what they're meditating on the whole life, whole day, that thought will be the most predominant thought at the time of death. If I have so much affection for something, that affection causes me to have that memory for a longer time. The stronger the emotion, the stronger the affection, the stronger the memory. So if I'm especially, this is why excessive attachment for anybody or anything in this world is bad. Why? Because if you're too attached to something, we easily get how to say, attached to that, and then at the time of death we can easily remember that, and then next life it will cause us bondage. That's why we should not be attached to anything except God. So now, if you see the previous verse, अंतकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरं यः प्रयाति समद्भावं याति नास्त्यत्र संशयः. And whoever at the end of life quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. So if you remember Krishna, then we will go back to him. So this is how we pass the test of life. This is how we make that journey to that eternal kingdom of God where we actually belong, our real home. How? By remembering Krishna at the time of death, by remembering God at the time of death. Now, that is not an easy feat. Because at the time of death, our life will be tested at death. Death is our final examination of life. Bhajan karo, sadhan karo, murti jan le hoy. Whatever practice we have done, etavan sankhayogabhyam swadharmam parinishthaya janmalabha para pumsam ante narayana smriti. So, whatever we may do in life, this process or that process, whatever we have done, everything at the time will be tested at the time of death, whether we can remember Narayana or Krishna or not. Or can we remember God at the time of death? That is the test. Now, if we get a headache, severe headache, we can't remember Krishna. Oh, it's so hurting, I'm just so engrossed in that pain that I can't remember Krishna. If I have a severe fever, I can't remember Krishna. So just imagine, such minute things are already making us forget God. And forget it. Even not even headache. Without any headache, I already can't remember him. So, without anything, I already cannot remember him. So if at the time of death, everything will be disarranged in the body. Everything will be out of order. Our mind, our body, everything will be out of order. At that time, how can we stay focused on Krishna and nothing and not deviate from him? How can that happen? Unless one practices in this life, Pritir Nayavan Mayivasudeve, it is said. We have to achieve that love for Krishna and think of him all the time. That's why we chant all the time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. We chant on these beads every day. We have a commitment of at least 16 rounds on the beads. One round is 108 beads. One whole, circle. Mala. So 108 times is one round. So we chant at least 16 rounds like that every day. 16 times 108. The whole mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So when we are chanting, when we are thinking of Krishna, praying to him, please allow me to become your devotee. Please engage me in your service. I want to become your servant. I don't want to anymore become the servant of this XYZ. And of course, we will serve others. It's not that we don't serve, but through Krishna. Through Krishna. Not alone or separately. And serving all these different masters and all materialistic. And then in that way, I'll be dragged down into this material world. Every single life, I'll be dragged down like that. So no, I want to become your servant, Krishna. This is what I actually am, and I want to return to that state. So this prayer, that is the meditation. Always thinking about Krishna. Not only chanting. Now I'm speaking to you. This speaking is also meditation. As I'm speaking to you, I'm meditating. Because unless I think about the philosophy of Krishna, unless I think about all that he has said, I cannot repeat this. So I am quoting from some, the scriptures and everything. This is meditation on Krishna's teachings. Meditating on his name, meditating on his form, meditating on his teachings. All these are non-different. They are non-different from Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is non-different from Krishna. Krishna's name is non-different from Krishna. That means they have the same potency, same quality. So if I remember Krishna at the time of death, successful. I can go back. But if I remember anything else, I'll become that in my next life. Now, what causes my remembrance at the time of death? I think we're already almost 10 more minutes only. I think I have to take some questions as well. I'll just show these verses to just show you how our thoughts get influenced at the time of death. 15.8. So this is in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Shariram yad avapnoti yachapyutra utkramatishvaraha grihitvaitani samyati vayurgandhani vashayat. This is also Sanskrit. Now, the living entity or the soul in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another as the air carries aromas. Thus, he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. Karanam gunasangosya sadasad yoni janma. So, according to our association, we carry certain flavors of consciousness. For example, if I associate with drunkards, I may also get the idea of why don't I drink? If I associate with smokers, why don't I smoke? So I achieve a certain kind of flavor of consciousness by association. If I associate with devotees who are always remembering Krishna, chanting about him, glorifying him, and helping others remember Krishna, I also will develop that consciousness. And that is Krishna consciousness, our original consciousness. Now at this point, we are having different conceptions, and the example is very nice. As the air carries aromas. So if a breeze is coming towards you, and the smell is just horrible, it's a stench of a drain, you know that the air has passed through some drainage before coming to you. And if you get the smell of a nice rose, you know it has passed through a rose garden and is coming towards you. So the air itself has no odor or smell, but the air has no odor, but the place has odor, and the air carried that odor to you. So similarly, the soul is not good or bad. It's always good. Actually, it's part and parcel of Krishna, the supreme pure entity, God. So he is in his original state always pure, but he is carrying these flavors of consciousness because the air associated with the place of a rose garden, it is coming with the scent of rose. Because it is associated with the drainage, and so therefore it is carrying the scent, or the stench of a drain. So according to our association, the soul, when he associates with certain company, company means not the company of people, according to our association. Not only people, what we listen to, what we do, what kind of things we do, all these things influence our thoughts. So that conceptions are the flavors that we are carrying. The soul carries those and gets into the next body. So by observing the symptoms of a person, we can deduce we can get an idea of where he was coming from in his previous life. Urdhvam gachanti sattvastha, madhya tishthanti rajasa, jaganya guna vrittistha, adho gachanti tamasa. So there are three modes of material nature: sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, goodness, passion, ignorance. So one who is in the mode of goodness, he's peaceful by nature. He is, his tastes, his eating is characterized by such pleasant foods. What he hears, what kind of music he hears, what type of subjects he's interested in, what kind of hobbies he has, what kind of interests he has. All these things are governed by what kind of mode of nature he is in. That is the flavor that he's carrying. So the air carries aroma, so the soul carries the conceptions of the previous association. And depending on that, he will get a body. So that is explained in the next verse, continuing. Shrotram chakshu sparshanam cha rasanam ghranameva cha adhishthaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate. The living entity or the soul takes, thus taking another gross body. Gross body means this visible body. This is called Jada Sharira, gross body. And the subtle body, the Sukshma Sharira, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego, which is more subtle, that is called subtle body. So, subtle body remains with the soul in every life. Only when the soul becomes liberated into the spiritual world, that's when the subtle body leaves. When the soul, pure soul, goes to the spiritual world. But the subtle body stays on with the soul while it is in the material world. So the mind, intelligence, and false ego are the same mind and intelligence we had for millions of years. Sometimes it is covered, sometimes it is uncovered. When we are in the body of a dog, we cannot understand all these things, Bhagavad Gita or anything. We don't have that intelligence. We don't have access to that. But now we have. It is more revealed to us. So the living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Like the pig, he enjoys garbage. We can't. We have another set of sense objects which is, nice palatable food stuff or whatever. Even in humans, there are those who are tamasic, who like, things such as meat or, untouchable things. These are tamasic, very low grade food. And sattvic, pleasant foods, which without any meat, which is only vegetarian, and milk, dairy products. And that too, when it is offered to Krishna, that is prasadam, even higher than sattvic. So in this way, and rajasic, those who are, very hot, very pungent foods and salty foods, dry, these kind of foods are in the mode of passion. So people of different modes, they like different kinds of food. And some people say, oh, I'm a morning person, I'm a night person. Why these things are there? Because the person who is predominantly in the mode of goodness, he wakes up in the morning and he likes to be in the morning. And the person who is in the mode of ignorance, he likes to be having nightlife. That's why when you see, it comes to the morning, dawn, around that time, the partying stops. Because the mode of ignorance time has stopped. The mode of goodness time, those who are in the mode of goodness, they will wake up at that time. And those in the mode of ignorance, they sleep at that time. So in this way, we have a particular sense of sense objects, and particular type of ear with a particular taste, with a particular, not just taste means tongue taste, our different tastes in life, according to our conditioning of our three modes, which is more predominant, which is not, like that. And finally, उत्क्रामन्तं स्थितं वापि भुञ्जानं वा गुणान्वितं विमूढा नानुपश्यन्ति पश्यन्ति ज्ञानचक्षुषः. This is very important. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. So he can see all this. One second. So in other words, one who has knowledge, he can see, how everything is working, how the reincarnation takes place, how we are in our present body, what we were in our previous body. These things can be understood by understanding how this whole thing works, this reincarnation works. So we are not into whether reincarnation is there or not. We know it is there, and we know how exactly it takes place. That much information is there in the Vedic scriptures, especially the Bhagavad Gita. So I would urge everyone to read the Bhagavad Gita. And we have come to the end of the session. I think we have covered all the topics. Now I will take any questions that we have. I think we do have some questions here. Just let me go through the chat here. I hope that was clear. You let me know if anything is not clear. So this is the verse Himanshu has shared in the chat. यावत् पवनो निवसति देहे तावत् पृच्छति कुशलं गेहे गतवति वायो देहापाये भार्या बिभ्यति तस्मिन् काये. When one is alive, his family members inquire kindly about his welfare, but when the soul departs from the body, even his wife runs away in fear of the corpse. So that just shows the presence of the soul is what makes the body attractive. Otherwise, without the soul, the body is scary. You see a dead body, you become scared. Why? Because without the soul, it has no meaning. The beauty of the body was in the soul, not the body. So Vaibhav is asking, why do we worship statues and have statues of God, as his real image is his soul's? This is a whole topic, deity worship. But we don't have time. Today is not the time for that. So tomorrow we will talk about God, and we can probably take that tomorrow because that is more apt for tomorrow's discussion. So today is more about understanding ourselves. And of course, I have to mention God because our relationship has no meaning without a relationship with God, Krishna. Now, let's see if we have any other relationships. Okay, Asha Sobraj is asking, but do we really cut our relationship with the departed one? We still do pujas and prayers and services for them. Yes, so this is interesting. So, for human beings, there is a facility given that even for the departed soul, even when he has departed, one does the Shraddha ceremony or the Pinda ceremony every year for that person. And basically, what it is, it's a concession. It's a special facility given for human beings that even though our relationship is severed, but we can still do that, that pujas, shraddha, and if it's done properly, basically what shraddha is, in essence, is that, the pinda, the three balls of rice. I mean, Indians would know. I think those who are in Thailand, because this is hosted by in Thailand. So maybe she's not aware of these practices, but basically three balls of rice, they are made like that, three balls of rice, and this is called pinda or shraddha. They do this where that is offered to the departed soul. Now, in this part of the world also they have something similar, but in a different way it is done. But anyway, it is offered to the ancestors. What is that? That is actually offered to Vishnu first, and that Vishnu Prasad is offered to the departed soul by the process of mantra. But one has to be potent enough to be able to do that. Nowadays, Brahmanas, they're not even potent to do that. You must have tapasya. The mantras become powerful by the tapasya. Of the purity is the force. By the tapasya, the mantras become powerful. And they can actually transport things by way of mantra. But if we are not so powerful, that's why in Kali Yuga, everything is so, imperfect. The only way where everything can be made perfect is by chanting. So anyway, so when we offer it, then as long as we keep on offering this, that soul will not fall into he will stay in Pitraloka, which is subterranean heavenly planet. And there he enjoys life. But enjoys life means, I mean, there are so many troubles there also. It's just that, just like in India, the standard of living here in Singapore is definitely higher than in India. But it's not that here the people have no misery. No, they have. The standard of life may be higher, but miseries are still there. The same miseries. So similarly in the heavenly planets also there are. So it's not like spiritual world. So yes, the relationship is kind of cut because we can't even communicate with that person. But Krishna gives a special facility so that this thing can be done. This Shraddha, Pindodakam. So that is offered to the departed soul, and as long as this is done, the person does not fall down. But if one is a devotee, especially in Kali Yuga, all these ceremonies, these Karmakanda ceremonies, are not effective because the mantras chanted are not potent enough. So therefore, what is to be done? I will show you. There is a nice verse regarding this. मन्त्रतस्तन्त्रतश्छिद्रं देशकालार्हवस्तुतः सर्वं करोति निश्छिद्रम् अनुसंकीर्तनं तव. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing the mantras and observing the regulative principles, and moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. Everything becomes faultless just by chanting the holy name. So, in this Kali Yuga, everything can be achieved just by chanting Krishna's name. Let's take another verse. देवर्षि भूताप्त नृणां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं वृणी च राजन् सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्. O king, one who has given up all material duties and who offers shelter to all, if one has taken shelter of him, he is not indebted to the demigods or the devatas, great sages, rishis, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately because they are automatically served. Because, I'll show you another verse. Oh, 849. यथा यथा हि स्कन्ध शाखानां तरोर्मूलावसेचनम् एवमाराधनं विष्णोः सर्वेषामात्मनश्च हि. When one pours water on the root of a tree, the trunk and the branches of the tree are automatically pleased. Similarly, when one becomes a devotee of Lord Vishnu, everyone is served, for the Lord is the super soul of everyone. So this is the most effective way of watering a tree. You just water the root, however big the tree is. When you water the root, automatically the entire tree is served. Right? The nourishment goes to every single part of the tree. So similarly, when we serve Krishna, who is the root of everything, then every single living entity, not just the Pitras, not just the Devatas, every single living entity is satisfied or is served. So, to be very honest, our relationship with anyone is not ever cut off. We are always related to everyone, actually, because we are all related to Krishna. And Krishna is the father of everyone. So actually, we are always related to everyone. But if we base it on the body, without Krishna, if you just think that this is my relationship, that is going to end. So even the Shraddha ceremony, it only works because it is offered through Krishna. It is actually Vishnu Prasad and then it is offered. So only through Krishna the connection can be made to that soul, not directly. Krishna has connection with every single soul. So Krishna sometimes opens some facility for us to direct something to that departed soul through a method that he prescribed. And if he shuts that off, we cannot have that access. Directly we can't. Through Krishna, yes, we can. Everything. Not only the departed souls, but even the devatas, the demigods. There are 330 million of them. Different departments of the universal management. And all of them will be served at once if we serve Krishna. If we just chant his name. So easy and yet so powerful. Okay. Prabhu, okay, what else? Himanshu is asking my question. If we were in the kingdom of God, then how we fell from there? So does that mean we can also fall from there? Yes, we can. If we choose, this is our independence. Krishna does not interfere with our independence. We have that independence, minute independence. Because we are part and parcel of the supreme independent God. Because we are his part and parcel, just like ocean has salt. 35% of the ocean water is salt. So if you take a drop from that ocean, it will also be 35% salt. But In the ocean, there are tons of salt. In the drop, there is just milligrams of salt. So the quality is the same, but the quantity is different. So similarly, we being part and parcel of God, we have the independence that God has, but in minute quantity. We can choose whether to serve Him or whether not to serve Him. That we can choose. So that is always open for us. So just like in the society. Now I don't expect you to become a criminal and go to jail, but you can if you want to. You just have to do one stupid thing and you will go into inside. And it is very much in your capacity to do that. To kill someone is not very difficult. To put a knife and stab someone is not very difficult to do it. But you are expected not to do it because you understand the moral principles and everything. So similarly, in the spiritual world, people, the souls there understand. But if I am stupid enough, I can make a mistake and then I can come here. So we were all stupid. We were stupid. And that's why we are here. So here, this is like a prison house. Here, this is for our reformation. This whole gigantic universe, and not just one universe, there are millions and trillions of universes such as this. And all of them are created only for one purpose. They are a prison for us to reform, to correct ourselves. So that is the whole purpose of this creation. So yes, if we go there, we can again fall from there. Yes, definitely. But we will not, because once having learned our lesson, Krishna will make us remember what we have learned, and then we will learn, and then we will not make that mistake again. Next question. If we were in the kingdom of, okay, 428:53. Yeah. Siddhi Shinde. She's asking how to stay detached. It sounds easy, but it's actually very difficult. So we should not chase detachment. We should not be after detachment, because that is the effect of our attachment to Krishna. Like for example, I'll give you an example. This is a bit of a hilarious example, but this is what happened. So one day, our spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, he was giving a lecture. He was delivering a lecture, and in that he said the difference between yogi, bhogi, and rogi. Yogi is a self-controlled sage who is controlling his senses and for purification. That is yogi. Bhogi is a sense enjoyer. He wants to enjoy his senses. And rogi is a diseased person. So all of them are rhyming words. Yogi, bhogi, rogi. So he said that a yogi passes stool only once in a day. A yogi. A bhogi, a sense enjoyer, who eats a lot, who eats more than what is required, he passes stool twice in a day. And a rogi, a diseased person, is he who passes stool 3 or more times in a day. So in this way, we can see whether a person is yogi, bhogi, or rogi. Now, one of his disciples, he really wanted to go to the toilet. But because he heard this lecture, he was really controlling himself. He was like, oh, he was like that. And, Prabhupada saw, what happened? Are you sick? What is wrong with you? Prabhupada, you said yogi only goes once, but I really need to go. But how? Now I'm supposed to be a yogi, but I'm having to go. And Prabhupada laughed. He said, your control should not be at the anus. The control should be at the mouth. So if you eat less, then you will have to, visit the toilet less. But if you eat more and then try to visit the toilet less, that's not going to be possible. So although, yes, they are defined by the number of times they go into the toilet and pass stool, the controlling factor of that, the controlling valve, is not at the anus, it's at the mouth. If we eat less, so that is the actual meaning of this definition, that a yogi eats less. But why we can say half kilo or 1 kilo like that? No, but each body is different type, right? Different size, different metabolism rate and all that. So each body has its own different measurements, but the measurement can be measured by how many times it goes to the passing stool. So the controlling factor is at the mouth. So similarly, why I told this example is because detachment is not something we should chase after. Oh, I want to be detached. I want to be detached. It is like that person who ate, but he wants to control the motion. So that is not what we should be controlling. Oh, I want to have detachment. That is not our focus. Our focus should be how can I become attached to Krishna. So in the Bhagavad Gita, this is explained that the way we can do this is have a superior attachment. Now, let me show you that verse. This is in the second chapter, 59th verse. विषयाविनिवर्तन्ते निराहारस्य देहिनः रसवर्जं रसोप्यस्य परं दृष्ट्वा निवर्तते. Though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the taste for sense objects remains. This is the problem, right? If we try to detach ourselves, in our mind we still have cravings. So the taste for sense objects remains. But ceasing such engagements by experiencing a higher taste, he is fixed in consciousness. For example, Prabhupada gave a simple example. A child, he suppose is playing in his outside with his friends, and it's getting dark. And the mother says, "Hey, come, stop playing, come back home." But he doesn't listen. He just continues to play. Now, what does the mother do? Hey, come here, I have ice cream for you. Oh, ice cream! Then he will leave there and come here. Why? How could he give up such enjoyment of playing with his friends? Because he has a promise of a higher enjoyment. So because of that enjoyment of an ice cream, oh, okay, I will come back. So giving up something is not the goal. Getting attached to Krishna is the goal. The more we get attached to Krishna, the more automatically we will develop detachment from this material world. And let me show you, there's a verse for that as well. Bhakti pareshanubhavo viraktiranyatra chaisatrika ekakalah prapadyamanasya yatha snatah kushti tushti pushti kshudapayonughasam. Kushti means leprosy. Tushti pushti kshudapayonughasam. Sanskrit words are very funny. If you get it a little bit wrong, the meaning just goes out of the window. So here it said, can't stop laughing on that. Again, so devotion, direct experience of the Supreme Lord, and detachment from other things. This detachment is called virakti. Virakti means absolute disgust. These three occur simultaneously for one who has taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the same way that pleasure, nourishment, and relief from hunger come simultaneously and increasingly with each bite for a person engaged in eating. When you eat, your hunger goes, your nourishment increases, and your strength increases. All three happen simultaneously. So similarly, when you become a devotee, then your devotion increases, your experience, your realizations increase in Krishna consciousness, and your direct experience of the Supreme Lord increases as you advance. And then automatically, as you realize more and more about the ecstasy of Krishna consciousness, you will lose taste. You will absolutely lose taste for anything material. And that is how detachment actually comes. There is a nice verse in the Bhagavad Gita, I will show you. In the 6th chapter, 5th chapter, sorry. Chapter? Yeah. Sannyasasthu mahabaho dukkham aptumayo gatah yoga yukto munirbrahma nachirena adhigacchati. Merely renouncing all activities, yet not engaging in the devotional service of the Lord, cannot make one happy. But a thoughtful person engaged in devotional service can achieve the Supreme without delay, and he can easily become renounced. I have a good example for this. There was in Malaysia, there was this temple in Ipoh, in the city of Ipoh in North Malaysia. So there is this temple of Krishna, Sri Krishna temple, and we went there in 2020. Is that so? Yeah, 2019. Yeah, 2019. We went there, and we were going there for some other program, for some talk. But then we visited this temple also, and there the priests were telling me, because I'm a brahmachari. Uh, um, I don't want to marry. So the priest told me, "Hey, you're not married. How come?" I said. Then I spoke some philosophy. If you really want to be focused on this, it's better not to marry because I can not afford not to marry. So better not to marry. So I want to become brahmachari. I want to be brahmachari my whole life. So that's what I told him. So he said, "No, I mean, no, you should get married." The other day we had a sannyasi here who came and gave a talk, and so many people listened. And he is a 78-year-old man who was a sannyasi, and his advice to any and everybody he meets is that, "Are you married? No, please get married. Please get married. Get yourself married." Why? Because I am 78 years old. I have not married when I could, and now I'm regretting. Therefore, I don't want you to have the regret, so I want you to be happy. Please marry. That is his advice. So, I mean, I'm not saying that everybody should refrain from marriage. A vast majority will marry, but if you can remain without marriage, especially for men, you should. So that is brahmacharya, and eventually go to sannyas. So, anyway, nowadays almost nobody can practice that. But the thing is this: the problem with him is he renounced. He's wearing the dress of a sannyasi. But then in his heart, he cannot give up that happiness, that craving for a woman. So he is advising any and everybody, please get married. Because why? That means he has zero devotion for Krishna. He has not experienced anything. He has just merely renounced, but then he has no, any grasp of the spiritual ecstasy that we get from Krishna Bhakti. And therefore, he's now, the whole life is regretting and advising anybody and everybody to get married. So this is why we have to be chasing attachment to Krishna, and that is more important. Even if you are in the material world, it doesn't matter. Increase your attachment for Krishna, automatically detachment to other things will come. When a glass of water is empty, it's actually not empty, it is full with air. It is full with air. And when you pour water, the air goes out and the water, the air is replaced by water. So you can only replace your consciousness from one thing to another. You just can't vacuum the whole thing. At the slightest opportunity, air will again enter, right? If you just vacuum everything, you just suck out all the air in this vacuum in the glass now, and you cover it. The moment there is a little bit gap, the air immediately goes in and fills the entire glass again, right? So similarly, although we may renounce, at the slightest opportunity, we may again come back to the material enjoyment again. But if you fill it with water, you don't need to keep the air away with a great effort. Automatically, the air is not there, water is there. So that's how we become detached. So for now, what you should focus on is sthane sthita shrutigatam. Hear about Krishna and chant his name. Two things you do, that's it. You focus on these two. Your attachment to Krishna will increase. Read the Bhagavad Gita as it is by Srila Prabhupada. Read that translation, because there are many translations which very distorted. But Prabhupada's translation is as it is, the most authoritative translation. And it is there in every language in the world, more than 100 languages. So take in a language that you're comfortable with. I prefer English, but if you prefer something else, you can always take and read that. And chant the Maha Mantra Hare Krishna. If you can associate with devotees and attend our classes, we have regular classes every week, multiple times in a week. And you can attend our classes online as well. We stream it live on our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page. So you can enter into these sessions as well. So in that way, it will sustain. You can keep it sustained, that whole process of attaching yourself to Krishna. In Russia, Pinda is done by gathering together, drinking alcohol and eating meat. Well, Asha Sobraj is saying, thank you, Prabhuji. I appreciate your explanation. Now I believe that the Lord is truly merciful. Thank you. That's good. Question from Erica. Why are we born into a certain family? Also, you mentioned that we are born to release our karma. How do we know that we are releasing our karma? How do we know that we are on the right path? Okay, so why we are put in a certain family? As I said, because of our previous association. We come into a certain family, a certain country, in a certain situation. It's all based on our previous karma. Karmana daivanetrena jantur dehopapattaye striya pravishta udaram umso retah kanashrayah. The living entity takes the shelter of the semen of the male and he's injected into the womb of the female. And this arrangement, which soul comes and occupies which womb, the man and woman only have sexual intercourse. They have zero idea about what is the background arrangement of this whole thing. Which soul comes? So karmana daivanetrena, by superior arrangements, by superior netrena means eyes. So the Supreme Lord, the Paramatma, is seeing everything. So he knows which soul is going where, he is wandering, and which soul deserves where, according to his past karma. How much of wealth does he deserve? How much of beauty does he deserve? How much of intelligence does he deserve? How much of a good family, a cultured family does he deserve? So accordingly, he is put in a certain family. So the Lord directs the living entity, and when somebody is having intercourse, and then he makes the living entity enter into the semen of the male, and then into the womb of the female, and then, of course, that is human. In other also they have different reproductive means, and then that's how. Or he is going into the seed of a plant, and then he takes birth as a plant. So in that way, different souls are, impregnated in different places. And I mean, there is extensive description in the Chandogya Upanishad and everywhere. Now, that will be, and in the Srimad Bhagavatam also it is mentioned. Now, that will be a bit more elaborate. How a person comes from the heavenly planets down, how the person comes from the hellish planets up. All these things are mentioned in great detail. Now, so, but in general, this is the principle. Yeah. Now, we are born to release our karma. How do we know that we are releasing our karma? No. So, okay. So, this is a good question actually, because here there are three things we have to take note: karma, vikarma, akarma. What is karma? Karma means sanctioned action, which has a favorable, seemingly so called favorable reaction in this material world, a pious activity, in other words, doing something good to others, helping others in their need or whatever. So these are things which are pious activities, or demigod worship, doing some sacrifices, charity. These things are pious activities. They're not spiritual activities, they're just pious activities, material pious activities. Then there are, of course, that involves the yajna process. You have to perform, you have to be religious in order to be really pious. Lesser piety is, when you just help humanity without religion, that is much lesser piety. When you're religious and then help, that is even more piety. But even that is still in the material platform. Spiritual help is when you actually awaken that person to the knowledge that he is a soul, he is not the body, he belongs to Krishna, belongs to God, he's a part and parcel of God, and he has to re-establish his relationship with him. That's when the spiritual help comes in. But now we're talking about karma, which is just material pious activities. That is one category of action. Vikarma is the exact opposite of that. Prohibited action, that which you should not do. And who governs what can be done and what cannot be done? Well, tasmat shastram pramanam te karya vyavasthito gyatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartum iharhasi. One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. And if we don't do this, if we just act whimsically, this is what happens. यह शास्त्र विधि मुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिमवाप्नोति न सुखम न परां गतिम्. He who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. He fails in every endeavor. Moghasha, mogha karmano, mogha jnana vichetasaha. Asurim, prakritim asurim chaiva. What is that? Prakritim mohinim shritaha. 9:12 of Bhagavad Gita. Rakshasim asurim chaiva prakritim mohinim shritaha. So if we don't act according to the Shastra, then those who are thus bewildered are attracted by demonic and atheistic views. In that deluded condition, their hopes for liberation, their fruitive activities, and their culture of knowledge are all defeated. This is what happens. So therefore, we have to understand from Shastra about how things are situated. So vikarma means to do things against scripture. Just now we saw whimsical action. Just because I like to do this, I'll do this. So what needs to be done, what needs not to be done, what ought to be done, what ought not to be done, everything is mentioned in the scriptures. How to conduct ourselves. Now, among the many rules, the main thing is to chant the holy name of Krishna and to hear about Krishna or read about him from a pure devotee of Krishna, a guru. You must have a guru. Without guru, you cannot advance. And a guru must not be just an ordinary person. No, he is a confidential servant of Krishna who has a personal relationship with Krishna, who is coming down in an authorized disciplic succession called a parampara. It means an authorized chain of spiritual masters, from master to disciple, master to disciple, master to disciple, stemming from Krishna all the way. So that is called a parampara, and he has to be self-realized himself. Such a guru you must have and learn from him about the signs of God. And when you read our Bhagavad Gita as it is, that's what you do. You're learning Bhagavad Gita, but with the purports of Srila Prabhupada, our Guru, who is actually a pure devotee coming in the authorized disciplic succession. So in that way, you will know what to be done, what is to be done, what is not to be done. The main thing is to chant Krishna's name first, for a beginning. And of course, there are many subsidiary rules, but they can come later on. Chant his name and read about him and hear about him from the authorized sources. Like we conduct these classes. So if you can join in these classes regularly, that will help you a great deal. And if you can read our books, we have online version, we have app version, we have book version. I prefer personally the book version or the Kindle version. Otherwise, book is in fact more satisfying for me. That's my personal preference. So anyway, but we should read this subject. So then that is called akarma. Akarma means not that one does not do anything. So one is pious action, one is impious action. Karma, vikarma. Both of them produce reactions. One produces good reaction, one produces bad reaction. The sinful life will lead you to hellish suffering in the future lives. And pious activities, they lead you to higher lives, maybe sometimes even in the heavenly planets or even on this planet, in a very aristocratic family or in a very cultured family, or very beautiful features of the body or very sharp intelligence. These are all signs of a pious background of life. And the opposite is an index of a impious background. So now when we perform either of them, pious or impious, there is reaction. You have to take birth in this material world. Even if you take birth in a good family, or you get beautiful bodily features, or if you get a good intelligence, but still you have to suffer. Birth is suffering, death is suffering, old age is suffering, disease is suffering. So janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanudarshanam. This follows you anywhere and everywhere, whether you are pious or impious. So therefore, it's not really worth even doing pious activities. It's not enough. So there is another class of activities which are called akarma. So these pious and impious activities are like seeds. Everything that you do is a seed of karma, and it will be cultivated and it will become a tree, and it produces fruit. And when the fruit ripens, that's when you get the reaction. That's when you face the reaction of your action, which was done either in this life or in a previous life. So sometimes, therefore, we cannot explain how come I'm being an honest person, but I'm getting all this suffering, because it is from our previous lives carry forward. So in this way, the karma cycle is going on, the chain of karma. How to terminate it? By doing akarma. Akarma is the most powerful activity, which is devotional service to Krishna, which is done by hearing about him, chanting about him, reading about him, and engaging in his services in many, many ways. In that, there is zero reaction. There's no material reaction. Not only that, whatever reaction you already have, whether pious or impious, everything will be burned to the roots. And then you will be completely devoid of any remnants of any karma, so that you don't have to take birth again. Because even for the slightest remnant of karma that you have to come back and take birth to experience that, whether pious or impious. But the taking birth itself is bad. So even pious activities are not ultimately recommended. They're recommended for those who are not interested in the ultimate activity. They're recommended so that at least they don't fall downward. But eventually one has to get to the stage where you have to perform akarma. That's when it is liberating. Because pious activity will still keep you bound to this material world. It's not worth it. It's not really worth it. So, akarma, when you serve the Krishna and when you preach his glories and help others by bringing them to Krishna and making them happy, this is all not just pious activity, it is transcendental activity. It transcends both pious and impious. And that's how you stop karma. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita very simply, in the 18th chapter, 66th verse, Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami masucha. Don't worry. I will give you relief from all sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami. I will relieve you. I will give you moksha, liberation. When? Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Let's look at the translation. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. We need not take to any other process. Just by surrendering to him, we can completely become free of all suffering, all sinful reactions. And that's how we terminate. And this process of surrender, how does it look? Okay, let me just show you that quickly. I know the session is extending way beyond limit, but I'm very sorry. I'm known for this. I'm known for extending sessions. So please bear with me for a while. Let me quickly show you through how the chronology of surrender happens. How can we come to that position where I can completely surrender? What does surrender look like? What does surrender mean? So this is how it all starts. Shranvatam svakatha Krishna punya shravana kirtanah hadyantastho hi abhadrani vidhunoti suhrit satam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for the material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Punya Shravana Kirtanam, purifying topics of Krishna. When you hear those such topics, when you have the urge to hear such his topics, his message, that means you are interested to hear about him, interested to hear about his message, Bhagavad Gita. Like all of you know who have now attended, if you have such interest and if you can sustain that interest every time, okay, I want to know more, I want to know more, that is the beginning of surrender. That I want to hear about him. Because if I have to surrender someone, if I have to surrender to Krishna, I must have complete faith in him that he will protect me, right? How am I going to trust him if I don't know him? How can I love him if I can't trust him? How can I trust him if I can't know him? So to know him, I have to hear about him. And therefore, hearing is where it all starts. What you have done now is this is how you start. Yeah? And then, what happens after you hear? Sequence goes. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavatyuttama shloke bhaktir bhavatinashthiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, these classes that you're now attending, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, a devotee who has surrendered to Bhagavan, Krishna, by serving him, and by listening, regularly attending these classes, and regularly reading the book, Bhagavatam, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Revocable means it can be again undone. This can't be undone. Once you have started, the attraction is so irresistible. Krishna means all attractive. He's so irresistibly attractive that when you start hearing about him, reading about him, you will not be able to stop. He's so irresistibly attractive. Okay? So, and when you hear and when you are interested like that, all the dirty things in the heart will become completely cleansed. And then what happens? Tada rajastamo bhavaha kama lobhadayaschaye cheta etairanavidham sthitam sattve prasidati. As soon as irrevocable loving service is established in the heart, the effects of the nature's modes of passion and ignorance, such as lust, desire, and hankering, disappear from the heart. Then the devotee is established in goodness and he becomes completely happy. So, this is how our attachment, our proportional increase in attachment causes a proportional decrease in our lust, desire, and hankering from the heart. And thus we are established in goodness, sattvic. Sthitam sattve prasidati. And he becomes completely happy. That's when we become happy. Now, next. What happens after that? Evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogatah bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Thus established in the mode of unalloyed goodness, the man whose mind has been enlivened by contact with devotional service to the Lord gains positive scientific knowledge of the personality of Godhead in the stage of liberation from all material association. You will get positive knowledge, scientific knowledge of God, Krishna. It is not that he is a vague person, nobody knows, nobody has seen him. No, you will actually be able to see him scientifically, you will understand everything about him in that state. Finally, what happens then? Once you have understood all of that, भिद्यते हृदय ग्रंथिश्छिद्यन्ते सर्व संशयाः क्षीयन्ते चास्य कर्माणि दृष्ट एवात्मनीश्वरे. Thus the knot in the heart is pierced and all misgivings, that means all kinds of misconceptions, are cut to pieces. The chain of fruitive actions is terminated when one sees oneself and one's master, the Lord. So this is how the surrender actually takes place, the chronology of surrender. All starts with hearing. That's why my utmost recommendation to everyone here, please read the Bhagavad Gita. Start reading the Bhagavad Gita and start attending these classes and start chanting the holy name of Krishna. And that's how everything, all the termination of this karmic cycle will start to happen. Okay, I hope that answers the question. Then you know you're on the right path. You'll automatically have all these virakti, complete disgust for material life, and you will have positive attraction for Krishna, and you will just be, he'll be irresistibly attractive to you. What is that? So, what is that ping all about? Yeah, it's too late, right? Well, there are questions. What can I do now? Please guide me in this matter of bona fide books, Prabhuji, as I have heard. Many of ISKCON books are edited post, initially thus making them not bona fide. No, you can read. It doesn't matter. It did not change the message at all. You can read. If you can access the original ones, fine. If not, continue with what you have. Okay, please guide me. Okay, this is already done. Anaswara Mataji is asking, what is the difference between pious deeds and causeless mercy? When even in causeless mercy, pious deed is required. When Prabhupada says of causeless mercy, does it act for impious souls or only for pious souls? Causeless mercy means when without a reason the spiritual master or Krishna is merciful upon someone without without any reason. Just like sunshine falls even on the chandala, even on the most sinful person. The sun does not discriminate. Oh, I will not allow my rays to touch the sinful person. No, it will still go. Similarly, the saint, the pure devotee of Krishna or Krishna himself, he extends his mercy to anyone and everyone. So that is causeless mercy. So there is no reason why he is merciful. So, but whether I will take it or not, that's up to me. Whether I take that mercy and apply it in my life, that's up to me. So that's the thing. Okay, so we have gone 45 minutes beyond our time. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that's the end of the questions session. So thank you very much for coming on board and participating in this. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow also we have, I think it's a 3-day event. So thank you very much, Miss K. Wararuk. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your word wrongly. Thank you, Miss K. So for arranging this for everyone. Hare Krishna. So I can exit this meeting, right?
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry, I was trying to unmute. So we will see everyone, as in this will continue for the next 2 days, Friday and Saturday. So whoever is available, if you want to join, you can join Singapore time 8 p.m., Thailand time 7 p.m. Tomorrow the topic will be about God, about who is God, religion, science, and stuff like that.
All right. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.